Welcome to today's lesson. We're going to do a test video. Um, let's see. All right, let's load this up. All right. Let's see. Okay. So I've looked up Paleo Hebrew. Okay. And all of this is free. All of this is basic, simple Google stuff. So anyone, literally anyone can follow along. Anyone can do this. So obviously the goal here is to learn about God's word, the Bible, and we don't just want to learn it. We want to learn only the Bible, only God's word correctly, not the interpretation, not modern day um, exegesis, eisegesis, uh, whatever word you want to put on it. We want to understand what God said, what the men of God wrote, and what we are supposed to know and understand. All right. So obviously there's a place to start, but most people lack just basic and simple knowledge. Um, so I find whether you're Christian, Muslim, or Jew, it doesn't really matter. We need to um, have a pre-lesson basically. And that's basically to just get you some basic, simple information, kind of get you up to speed. The problem is the basic, simple information. Well, that's where all the problems lie. Everyone disagrees over the most basic and simple information. So I'm just going to go through how I would figure this out, how I did it, how I found, God, religion, salvation, so on and so forth, and help you on your journey, help you begin your journey, help you through your journey, help you finish your journey. Although, warning up front, you are going to see things, hear things that you've never seen, never heard before, and I'm preparing you now, just be prepared. This is a roller coaster ride, an adventure ride you have never, ever even thought of, imagined, or expected. So buckle up, buckle up. Your world is about to change, whoever you are. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're a PhD, Hebrew University graduate. I don't care. Your world is about to be rocked. So buckle up. All right. If we just look up the simple term, Paleo Hebrew, okay? Now, This is Google. This is free. This is just one of many opinions. It just happens to be the one that we're going to use. We're just going to use basic, simple Google stuff. Okay. We can go look up Merriam's dictionary, Webster's dictionary. We can go look up Oxford dictionary. We can go look up plenty of different uh, opinions. Well, we're just going to go with just Google. Google does a pretty good job. Okay. So let's just, we're just going to go with the free Google. And let's just see what we find. Well, we start off, as you can see, I searched for this word, Paleo Hebrew. And for those who don't know what it is, let's read what Paleo Hebrew. Paleo Hebrew was written continuously from right to left with no spaces or punctuation separating words. Reading these unbroken strings of 22 consonants required the reader to rely on context. All right. Word breaks and punctuation were only introduced later alongside the transition to the Aramaic script. Now, okay, that's Paleo Hebrew. Now, if I go type in original autograph of Moses was written in, and I leave it blank. I'll leave it blank so that Google can answer this question for us. We get an answer. It says, according to ancient Jewish tradition. So this is Jewish tradition, but also historical research. They match. Moses is believed to have originally written the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible in 1446 BC. His original autographs, which are the very first manuscripts, were likely written in, and here we have Paleo Hebrew. Paleo Hebrew. There is another option. The other option is Hieroglyphic Hebrew. So you can see I searched for Hieroglyphic Hebrew. Let's read what Hieroglyphic Hebrew is. Hieroglyphic Hebrew refers to the Proto-Sinaitic or Proto-Canaanite script, the world's earliest known alphabetic writing. Okay? Now, it says that these original pictographs eventually evolved into Paleo Hebrew. Now, so I'm going to bring up a little notepad here. Open up a new note. And hit enter and make this page very long so that we can copy and paste plenty of notes. All right. I'm going to go back up and I'm going to write this word, hieroglyphic Hebrew. Then I'm going to write Paleo Hebrew. As you can see, there is an order, and it is believed that hieroglyphic Hebrew is first, and then Paleo Hebrew is second. So let's go back and look at this hieroglyphic Hebrew. We have an example here. And as you can see, let's just see if we can blow this up. Let's go see here. There we go. Now, if you look on this little chart, it shows you first modern day Hebrew, or which is our Hebrew block letter right here in this first column. Then we have a history of the Hebrew letters, and it says here that we're looking at about 500 to 1100 BC, we have Hebrew consonants of the Iron Age. We go on back, Hebrew consonants of the New Kingdom, Hebrew consonants of the Middle Kingdom, original Hebrew alphabetic names. We have Middle Egyptian, hieroglyphic exemplar, and we have projected Proto-Hebrew original letter. Okay, now, as you can see, there is a little bit of a problem already. Do you see a list for hieroglyphic Hebrew and another list for Paleo Hebrew? Well, one of the problems is, remember, hieroglyphic Hebrew, right, evolves into Paleo Hebrew script. So even though we're looking up hieroglyphic Hebrew, we're going to find that it refers to Proto-Sinaitic, Proto-Canaanite, which evolves into Paleo Hebrew. In other words, what are we looking at over here? When we look at this, are we looking at Paleo Hebrew? Are we looking at hieroglyphic Hebrew? Are they one and the same? Well, if we go back and let's say, look up Paleo Hebrew right here, Paleo Hebrew alphabet, for example. Paleo Hebrew alphabet. Well, here you see Paleo Hebrew alphabet. Now, if you look at this Paleo Hebrew alphabet, you can see, for example, the first letter right here. I'll click on it, highlight it. Let's see if it won't let us bring it up. So you'll have to zoom in your own page for the time being. Actually, let's see if we can actually go down to an actual letter. See, and yeah, here we go. So here we have an image right here. Okay. And it is the first letter in the Hebrew alphabet. It is an A. Notice this is Paleo Hebrew. Okay. Paleo Hebrew. So let's get rid of these pages. Let's find hieroglyphic Hebrew, which we have this little chart right here, which we've blown up. And we have hieroglyphic Hebrew. So let's look at Paleo Hebrew. We look at the A in Paleo Hebrew. Okay. To make sure that we're correct, we go all the way to the modern day and we find that here it is, that it is the Aleph in the square script. Let's go to the hieroglyphic Hebrew and we'll see we're looking at the same modern day Hebrew block letter, the modern script. And the Paleo Hebrew is, guess what? It is a picture. It's a picture. It's not a letter. It's a picture. It is a picture of, as you can see, it's the head of an ox with horns. You can see here a head of an ox with horns. You can see this head with horns, and you can see that how it morphs from head with horns to these letters, which in this case happens to be an A. Now, it doesn't show how we get from A to the modern day Aleph, but that is what the A, as you can see here, it looks, whoops, very similar to an A. You see the A, very similar to an A, which is also the modern square script. All right. Now, I we can we can get rid of all of this right here. I want to look up another term. Ancient Biblical Hebrew. Okay. Um So I almost always use Wikipedia simply because it's free. It's not always 100% correct, but it is definitely close enough. It's free, it's easy, it's something everybody can access and use. So that's what we use. All right, so I'm looking up now biblical Hebrew. Why? Because we don't really care about hieroglyphic Hebrew. We don't really care about uh we don't care about Paleo Hebrew or hieroglyphic Hebrew. We only care about biblical Hebrew. Basically, what would we find in the scriptures? The problem is that the scriptures are believed to originally be written in hieroglyphic Hebrew, which is equal to a picture. Now, the paleographic Hebrew, it morphs from a picture to a letter. And there's a reason why this is very important. We're going to get to it here shortly. So bear with me. But if we look up biblical Hebrew, let's go and let's look at this biblical Hebrew page. Let's see if we have some pictures, and here we go. You see, um, biblical Hebrew refers to Paleo Hebrew, but it also refers to the modern day block letters. It's just simply the different forms of writing that you can find the Bible written in. And the problem is you can find the Bible written in literally every script and language you can possibly imagine. Now, do we care about every script and language that you can possibly imagine? No, we do not. So, what script do we care about? We care about the script that Moses wrote in. Now, why? Why is that so important? We're not interested in the script that Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Daniel. We're not interested in their scripts. We know that as time went on, the original scripts changed into Paleo, which eventually become our modern day block letters. We know that. We have actual writings in every form that you can possibly imagine. But there's one form that's missing, and that is the form before Paleo Hebrew. That is the picture form, the hieroglyphic Hebrew, um, which is also called pictograph. All right. That means that Moses wrote originally, presumably, in pictures, not letters, pictures. Okay. Now, if I type in pictograph Hebrew, you'll see here we have all of these different examples of pictograph Hebrew. Now, I'm just going to open up a few of these. See what we get here. That's a little too small. Let's see if we can actually bring up the link here. Here we go. This is pretty good. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save this. I'm going to save this to bookmarks bar. So you see it right here. I have no clue what all these other folders I have here. So we're going to start us a new one. Let's go back. Let's open up a couple of more. Hebrew for Christians is very popular, so we will use Hebrew for Christians. I'll go ahead and put it on our bookmarks bar. See here, it's on our bookmark bar. Let's open up one more. Let's see. Uh, uh, okay, let's see. I happen to know Jeff Benner's material pretty well. Let's just see if I can find the letters. Uh, I don't find Jeff too easy. I'll have to go back and look. But this, I actually know this is actually Jeff's. Actually, yeah, this is Jeff. See, it says Ancient Hebrew Research Center, ancienthebrew.org. So this is Jeff's copy. Um, it's just a different website he's using. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bookmark this one. So we have three different examples. Okay. If we look at the A, now you guys might not know the Hebrew language, so you'll have to take my word for it for now, but this is, as you can see, it literally looks like an a modern day A, but it's on its side. Let's look at Hebrew for Christians. They don't show the what the letter becomes. Let's go to ancient Hebrew org. We'll see here he has the A, as you can see. It looks like the A is on its side. Let's actually blow this up. Blow it up a little more. And you can see there's the A. And as you can see, it becomes our modern day A. It also becomes the block letter Aleph. Now, we have a representation of this A in picture form, and it is a ox's head with horns. If we look at this other website, we'll see they have represented the A as an ox head with horns. You can see that Hebrew for Christians represents it as an ox head with horns. All right, uh, now we can do this for every letter. For example, let's just do one more letter, for example. So we have a B, the bet, and it is comes from a picture of a house. We have B, a bet, comes from a picture of a house. It becomes our modern day B and the block letter bet in the Hebrew language. Uh, so whether you speak English or Hebrew, Greek, it doesn't really matter. The first two letters they're all the same. It's simply A, B. That's it, A, B. We look at our last example, Hebrew for Christians, and it shows again. It doesn't show what the picture becomes. It just shows the picture. It's a picture of a house. Now, if you'll look, this house, this house looks a little bit different from this house. This house kind of looks like a G laying on its back. Does this house look like a G laying on its back? No, not really. But here we have a G laying on its back. Here looks like a G laying on its back. So the so there's as you can see, there's a problem here. Now, what I want to do is, well, I want to shift into another gear, okay? And I want to preach a little bit. All right. Actually, I shouldn't say preach. I want to teach, not preach. Preach is the wrong one. I want to teach, okay? So I want to clear this up, okay? And I want to do this, and I'm gonna put this on the screen where everybody can watch. And what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna put some numbers here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think everyone can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Everyone knows one is first, two is second, three is third, fourth, fifth, so on and so forth. So the question is, what is the first, what is the first form of what we would call written communication. And the first form of written communication is in the form of pictures. So I'm going to write that down. There are other names for pictures. Pictograph is a name. Okay, pictographs. And there's also hieroglyphics. Not typing too good, but okay. So as you can see, we have pictures, pictographs, hieroglyphics. What's the difference? There is no difference. There's no difference between a picture, a pictograph, or a hieroglyphic. They are all picture forms of what we would call letters. They are pictures of what we would call letters. So, for example, from now on, I am not going to use the Hebrew for Christians only because they don't have all of the information that we need. You can see that Benner's example has way more information. So just for clarity issues, we're just going to go and use Benner's. So you're watching me. I'm going to go and delete this one. Go and delete this one. And I'm going to save this image. And I'm going to go ahead and delete this one so that now all we have is this image. That's it. All we have is this one image right here. And it has all of the Hebrew letters. And it has the Hebrew letter from what you would call the very first beginning letter, pictograph, picture, hieroglyphic. From that, it morphs into this Paleo Hebrew. And the Paleo Hebrew is a cross between a picture and a letter. You can see that it is a cross between a picture and a letter. It still has a picture or a picturesque form, but it also starting to take on a letter form, an alphabetic form. You can see that in the first row, everything is a picture, a pictograph, or a hieroglyphic. You can see in the second column, everything shifts, moves away from the picture form. And as you can see, the picture forms, they require like drawing. They're more artistic. They require drawing. They have far more curves and stuff. They're very picturesque. I mean, they're just very uh, detail oriented. That's not the right word. It's calligraphy. It's more like calligraphy. It's a more of an art. Then we move to more of a stick figure form. Okay, and the stick figure form is just as a simplification. It is taking the picture that may be complicated and just making a basic stick form. Anybody can write this stick form. Not everybody can draw these little aleph ox heads. These little ox heads get very difficult to draw and maintain uniformity. Much easier for the little stick figure. And as we can see that this little stick figure, these stick figures, they become what we would call our Hebrew letters. And our Hebrew letters, right here, this row, they go through a process from early Hebrew letters. They get kind of morphed into a modern day form of Hebrew. And it's basically just taking the letters and making them more uniform, more easier to read and see and understand. And as you can see, the modern day Hebrew letters also are the basis of our Greek, Latin, and English letters. So you can see that the Hebrew aleph moved from a picture to a picturesque or a stick figure to a modern design. Can everyone see that? Now, the modern design today, which we will call Hebrew, is very different from the picture, and it's very different from the stick figure or picturesque forms. Very different. Um, they are technically so different, you would not recognize the three. They're just three different languages. Uh, it's the picture form, the stick figure, and then the modern is just so different. It's literally like learning a new language, a new alphabet, a new everything. Now, and it just so happens that the Hebrew version moves away from a picture and picturesque or stick figure form. What's very important to note is that the Greek and Latin, they are other routes that these letters have taken. So we go from picture to stick figure picturesque, and this stick figure picturesque, instead of moving through the Hebrew line, we can jump over here and see what it looks like in Greek. And Greek and Latin, which we go on into English, has kept this stick figure, this stick figure picturesque form. Now it loses, for example, with the B, we can see that we have a picture, stick figure moves on into our letter B's in Greek, Latin, and English, the letter B. And it moves away from picture, it moves away from stick figure, it moves away from picturesque, and it gets a modern shape. But it's pretty easy to see these are representing A's, representing B's. Now, some of the letters are complicated, like the Gimel. The Gimel is a picture, and I'm showing you just one example because in reality, we are not going to agree with any of this stuff that we see. You know, they basically don't have anything right at all, but we are going to use it because it's common, it's found in the world, and it just so happens we can still use it. But it's going to have a lot of mistakes, a lot of errors, a lot of things that we need to correct and tweak. But as you can see, this right here, this picture, it's missing a connecting line up here at the top. If you just simply picture this picture with a connecting line at the top, then it looks exactly like a B laid on its back, a capital B. And easily you can see that if this line was connected here in the second picture, it would look like a stick figure form of a B. Two triangles, something like that, a stick figure form of a B. We're trying to get away from the curvy lines, the lines that require artistic capability. We're just looking for stick figure. But as you can see, in the modern day, we don't have the blocky stick figure like the B could be two triangles, or it could be like a block 8, like a block with a line in the middle. Very stick figure straight. Modern day, as you can see, we maintain some curvature and stuff. but they're all easy to see. You can easily see they're B's. Well, when you get to the Gimels are a little bit different, okay? Because this is supposed to be a picture of either it's a picture of a couple of different things. It could be a foot, a generic foot, just a leg with a foot, or it could actually be a camel's foot. This could also be a camel's head. As you can see, it's upside down in the first picture. Second picture, you can see it can look like a camel's head with a long neck, like a camel's head. And as you can see, these first two letters, they do not resemble anything like the Hebrew letter, but they do still keep some common appearance in the Greek letters. Now, Latin, as you can see, Latin is adding some curvature back to it. And it is confusing because the Latin has a G here that literally looks just like a bet. It's just missing the closing line. But these letters evolve into modern day letters, as you can see, A, B, C, G. Let's look at another one. Here's the D. As you can see, the D, it looks like a triangle. But this first triangle, it's a little bit different than a triangle, and these are actually have some curves on these lines. As you can see, the stick figure example is basically a triangle. It's very stick figure, and that's what is kept in ancient Greek. And then Latin kind of blows it up. It kind of curves it out a little bit. So instead of a triangle where you have one point, right? One line, and then you'd have one triangle point, just like in the B could be two triangle points. The Latin is rounding out the B, the two triangles of the B. It's rounding out the triangle of the D. We can see what's happening here, but the letter's easily recognizable. If you look at the E, which is called a hey in Hebrew, it becomes our modern day E. Look how similar they are. English, Latin, Greek, they are identical. Okay, they're identical. Modern day Hebrew, completely 100% different. It does not look anything like the stick figure form, which looks pretty much like an E. And it looks absolutely nothing like the picture of a man with raised hands on bent knees. Now we lose this little line that comes off the back. As you see in the stick figure form, it goes, instead of coming out the back, it goes straight down like a leg. It's because the main part of this picture is looks like an E, looks like an E. And that's where we get our E. You can see this picture right here. The next picture, which is our F, is a straight line with the fork. And it actually could look like a Y. It could look very similar to a Y, but it's different. It's like a straight line with a fork. And as you can see, the stick figure kind of starts giving us a little better information. It's a straight line, and then the head is bent, but you can see there's a fork, and it looks like an F, literally an F, that has had its neck bent. That's the best way to say it. And as you can see, it looks just like an F. Looks nothing like Hebrew. Okay, now back to my preaching. Let me go back and blow this up. Let me preach a little bit. All right. So we can see with our own eyes a pattern. And the pattern is picture, stick figure, which is also picturesque. It maintains some identity with the picture, but it moves to a stick figure. And as a stick figure, it still maintains some uh, similarity to our modern day representations. So our modern day representations, as you can see, if we look at our modern day representations over here, A, B, C, our alphabet, everyone knows that. If you compare that to the pictures, it's going to be very hard to see A, B, C, D, E, F, G in the pictures. If you look in the proto or the picturesque or the stick figure form, you can see some some similarities in the ancient forms, especially in the Greek letters. You can see it looks like an A. It's a B with a little piece missing. It looks like a Greek letter, but the Greek letter is, instead of stick figure straight form, it's getting curved. It's getting made into a curved form. You have, you can see the D, but it's a triangle. It's a stick figure D, and then we round it out as our D. So even if we go to what would be called uh, proto or picturesque or stick figure, good luck trying to read this. You would have a very hard time recognizing any of these letters at all. Now, what does that mean? That means we went from picture, which is, and to letter. We went from picture to letter, and picture and letter have a very, very, very similar, almost identical form. Whether it is a picture or a letter, it is almost identical. It's very easy to equate picture and letter, early letter. So we can see that we move from picture to, let's call it picturesque. I don't know if there's actually a such thing as picturesque spelling, but it's picturesque. It is stick figure. That down, stick figure. But it is still very similar to pictures. Okay. Whoops. Then we have a huge, 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 huge leap forward to modern day. Oh, wait, we missed one. Forgot to put, it is a letter now. It is a letter. And then we skip all the way to modern day letters. I want to make a note because the modern day letters, they are not, not similar to any picture or letter of ancient, well, I shouldn't say ancient, of original alphabet. Okay. And we don't need the 4 and 5. I just made some extras. All right. So now, can we agree on this? If whoever you are watching this, can we agree on this? Can we agree that if we take our modern day alphabet, everyone can recognize it, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, we don't have the English up here, but everyone knows the English alphabet. Does this a Latin version not look very similar to the English alphabet? Looks almost identical. What about the Greek, modern and ancient? Looks very close. Very, very similar. How do any of the modern letters, any of the modern alphabets, how do they look compared to the original picture and original letter forms? And as you can see, they look almost nothing alike. Almost nothing like. So basically what happens is we have this huge gap. Okay. This huge, huge, huge gap. And the question is, what does this huge gap do? What's the point in learning this and knowing this? Well, that is because there is a belief. Okay. There is a belief that pictures, whoops, fix that. Pictures have meaning worth 1,000 words. Okay. So when we look at a picture, we look at our picture. This is an ox head, for example. There is the belief and the understanding that this picture is worth 1,000, not letters, 1,000 words. And we have some words here as examples. The ox head could possibly represent, or to describe it, you would need 1,000 words. You could use the word L. L is an example of a word that would fit with this picture. Ox head, because that's basically what it is. Strong, power, leader, they go along with this ox head. They also go along with the second form, which is a cross between a picture and a letter. It's somewhere in the middle. It still has a pictographic meaning and understanding. This is still an ox head. It's still L. It's still strong, power, leader. And that is the way it works for every single picture, for every single proto Hebrew letter. The Hebrew letter has both maintained the picture understanding and has begun us down the journey of becoming a letter, which only represents letter and or sound equivalents. And so as we move to the modern letters, like the A, it has moved so far away from this picture that it no longer maintains any relationship to this picture at all. It does not maintain any relationship with the pictograph or the stick figure form. It does not maintain any similarities. Not similarity. It doesn't maintain any commonality with these photo type of letters, these hieroglyphic picture photo type letters. The modern day letters are just separated by, well, thousands and thousands of years. And this separation has made what we would call our modern day letters absolutely completely different from the original pictures, pictograph stick figures, and meanings. It has lost all of its connection to the first letters. It has lost all meaning. In other words, this is a picture of an ox head. It is a representation of strength. It is a representation of power. For example, if you wanted to put a tattoo on your body and you wanted to signify strength or power, you could get a big old nice gorgeous looking ox head tattooed on you to represent strong, powerful. The horns represent leader. They are like the horns of crowns, king's horns. So instead of a actual ox head, this would become a crown. It looks like a head because the crown goes on your head. mimics your head. And then sticking up from the head are these crowns, and they represent leaders, rulers, kings. When we go to the letter A, this is no longer a picture. It has nothing at all to do with an ox, nothing at all to do with a head, nothing at all to do with a crown, nothing to do with strength, nothing to do with a power, nothing to do with leader. Absolutely no connection whatsoever. There is only one connection that the modern day maintains with the ancient hieroglyphic or picture form, and that is simply a sound. So if whether you're going from early to late or late to early, when you look at this first row and this last row, the equivalents are sounds. For example, let's start from the bottom this time. We have a tav in the bottom, and it has a T sound. So this letter has a T sound, just like a T. The next letter has a S sound like an S. This next letter has a R sound like an R. We have K as in Q. We have up here, this letter is P, P, P as in P. And so you can see, if we go back to the A, this is an aleph, and it has an ah sound, ah as in A, B as in B. The dalet is D as in D. So we can see that the only link between the late and the early is sound. Letters representing sounds. But no connection to pictures or meanings. We need to go back and add something to this first sentence, because pictures have meanings worth 1,000 words and also represent sounds. And as you can see, when we look at our original letters, whether pictographs, hieroglyphics, whether they're in picture form, stick figure form, or similar, whether they are in picture form or letter form, they still maintain all of the above. They maintain a picture with meanings worth 1,000 words. They also represent sounds. Our modern day are only letters representing sounds. They have no connection to the pictures or meanings. They are not similar to a picture or a letter of ancient time in any way other than sound. Now, hopefully, I've given enough video and enough examples here that literally anyone in the world should be able to look at this, and we should be able to agree. Okay. We should be able to agree that an A does have an ah sound, and the aleph, which is whether it's A, whether it's alpha, or whether it's aleph, they all represent a sound. That means if we look back in ancient times, what does the ox head represent? An A sound. What does the stick figure represent? An A sound. Just like this modern day aleph represents an A sound, and all of these A's in modern day represent an A sound. Now, This is not up for debate, and this is not an argument. Everyone knows and agrees that letters represent sounds. The question is, do letters, or another way to say it is if we go all the way back to the picture form, the question is, do picture forms maintain more than just representing sound? Do they also represent, as I've said, 1,000 different words? And the answer is, if you look at what is called a modern day A, can you get from a modern day A the understanding of this word L? Would anyone look at a Greek letter, a Latin letter, or an English letter that is nothing more than the sound of an A represented in the form of a letter? Would that give you any understanding of this word L? It wouldn't. It wouldn't come close. There's no way to get any understanding of L. There's no way to get any understanding of one, of first, of power, of L. There's no way to get any understanding of ox, our head, our horn, our crown, our thorns. There's no way to understand strong, power, leader, ruler, or any other 1,000 words. It's just simply an A sound. That's it. If you go to the B, the question is, we all know B's represent sounds, letter sounds. The question is, if we take the B and go all the way back, do the pictures represent more than just sounds? Well, the answer is, look at the modern day B. From the modern day B, if you looked at a B, would you have any idea in this world that B represents bet? Would you be able to get the understanding that a B is a bet, or a bite, which is a house, a tent floor, or a floor plan, a house or a house plan, a house design is like schematics for a house floor. It's like looking down from the roof onto a floor plan. You can't get any of these understandings from a B. It doesn't tell you anything about in. It doesn't tell you anything about inside. It doesn't tell you anything about family. Let's look at the last one. Let's go down to the last one. Because whether you're Christian, whether you're Jew or Muslim, this last one is very important. It is the most important letter today. Originally, it was the least important letter. It is the last letter and the least important letter. And the most important letter was this Aleph. But today, it is become one of the most important letters. And it is simply a T. And if you look at a modern day T, would a modern day T give you any understanding at all of a Tav? Would you know that that was a Tav? Would you understand from a T that it is a two sticks that are crossed? Would you know that a T is two sticks that are crossed? Not two sticks that are perpendicular, two sticks that are crossed, cross sticks. Now, can you see that the T represents a sign? Well, you may give credit to the fact that you could have a pole and you could have a header on top of this pole, and that could serve as a place to put a sign. But in reality, if you see the letter T, does the letter T signify to you a mark, a sign, a signal, a monument? No. There is no connection from this T to this picture of any kind without tracing this T back through its changes. That is the only way you can equate it with a tav. That is the only way you can understand that it is a picture. That is the only way that you can understand that this picture is two sticks that are crossed, and it is literally a mark. It is when you place this X or two sticks crossed, that is literally creating a mark or a sign or a signal or a monument, and it makes perfect sense. And every single picture operates the same way, just as we've went through the A, the B, and the T. They all function exactly the same way. Now, I know there are people out there like Dr. Michael Brown, and there are more names than we can count that will say that these modern day letters have absolutely no connection to the ancient letters. I would agree with that, with the exception that they are connected through a lineage of changes that go all the way back to the original pictures. The modern day does nothing more than represent sound. I would agree. But the question is not, do modern day letters also represent meanings? The question is, do the ancient pictures also preserve not only sound, but some other understanding? And it is summed up in the old wise words that a picture is worth 1,000 words. Now, Dr. Michael Brown would say that is not true, that if you go to this second letter right here, for example, that this stick figure form of an olive has no meaning whatsoever. It doesn't represent or mean anything other than the same thing an A would. It would be in other words, he's saying when you look at an A, all you understand is a sound. That's it. He is saying that if anybody looked at this letter, all it would represent is just an A sound. Just like if anybody looks at this letter right here, all it represents is an A sound. The question is, when somebody looks at this picture right here, is that all that's represented here is just an A sound? I don't mean to be disrespectful to anyone, but I don't know a respectful way to deal with Dr. Michael Brown's accusation that these letters have no meaning whatsoever. They're just simply representations of sound. I don't mean any disrespect to Dr. Michael Brown or anyone else, but if you cannot see that if I took a pencil on a piece of paper and I drew the head of an animal, let's say a giraffe's head, a cow's head, a monkey's head, a zebra's head, would that picture communicate something other than a sound to you? And the answer is an emphatic, obvious, absolute, without a doubt, unquestionably, without any debate whatsoever. It most absolutely has preserved more than just sound. There is no such thing as a picture of something, like the picture of a tree, the picture of a wolf, the picture of a goat, the picture of a chicken, that only a person can look at and only recognize a sound. There is no such thing. That is absolute ridiculous. It is absurd, and it is downright insulting and disrespectful to someone that has just the basic common sense that if I drew a picture of an ox's head on a piece of paper, if the only thing that you can see on that piece of paper is something that represents the A sound, then I don't know if I can teach you anything, because you are so special. That's the best way I can put it. You are so special. You require so much help that I cannot help you. You are too special and you need too much help. If you cannot see an ox head on a piece of paper, and at least at a bare minimum say that it can represent a sound, but it can also represent an ox's head, like that is just common sense. I believe that if we held up a picture of an ox's head and went around the world asking little children, what is this? They would all say ox's head, ox's head, ox's head. Not one child would say, oh, that is a letter that represents the sound ah. Not one. If I held up a picture of a chicken, there's not one person that would say, oh, that represents the sound cock-a-doodle-doo or cluck, cluck, cluck. Not one single person would do that. Every single man, woman, and child on the face of this planet would say, that is a picture of a chicken. And what do pictures of chickens represent? They represent chickens. That is just common sense. Pictures represent what the pictures are. So what does a picture of a house represent? It represents a house. What does a picture of a door represent? It represents a door. What does a picture of a basket represent? It represents a basket. Is that not just plain, outright common sense? Now, I admit, we are not used to these pictures. We haven't seen these pictures in thousands of years. And we may want to draw a better picture of an ox head. But let me tell you something. I've tried to draw an ox head, and my ox head looks so ugly. It looks worse than chicken scratch, that I am totally okay with using this as a picture of an ox head. Because if I tried to draw you a picture of an ox head, you'd never guess what it was. You'd say it was a creature from hell, but you'd never guess it was an ox's head. I could try to draw you a floor plan of a house. You'd never guess it was a floor plan of a house. I could draw you a door. Now, I'm pretty sure I can draw a decent door. I think I can get the door down. What about a wall? What about a basket? Well, the other thing is, these are not artistic drawings. Like, obviously, we're not drawing a full-on ox, a full-on head with eyes and nose and ears. This is the most basic outline stick figure form of an ox's head. This is the most basic outline stick figure form of a basket. This is the most basic way to write an arm and a hand. It's the most basic way to draw a palm. And instead of saying write, it's not writing, it's drawing. It is literally a picture. It is literally a drawing. This picture of water, I'm going to tell you what, these look like waves of water. And I challenge you can you come up with a more simpler and basic way to communicate water? Like if I just showed you some water, how would you draw that? I mean, is this not perfect? It's just a wave. It's a wave, and it's a wave after wave after wave, and it represents water. It's a picture of water. What about the picture of a seed? How about a thorn? How about an eye? Do they not, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Are these not perfect examples of pictures that you would think, no offense to the ancient people, but I call them cavemen, But if a caveman was to come out of a cave and draw a picture for you, don't these look exactly like pictures you'd think a caveman would draw? It makes perfect sense. You tell somebody, go and draw me some teeth. Draw me 2 teeth. How would you draw teeth? How would you draw a head? How would you draw the back of a head? How would you draw a mouth? How would you draw a rope? Are these not great examples? And if they are pictures, do they not at a minimum, a bare minimum, do they not also represent what it is a picture of? In other words, if this is a picture of an ox's head, does it not also represent the A sound? And does it not also represent an ox's head? Like, is that not common sense? That if this is a bet, it represents the B sound? Okay, fair enough. But does it not also represent a house? If this is a picture of a house, then is that not the first understanding that you have? Okay. If you started to read these letters right here as if they represented nothing but sound, who out there would even know what an ox head represented? You wouldn't know that. You would have no idea that this represented an A. You would just go, hey, it's a picture of an ox head. It's a picture of a house. It's a picture of a foot. It's a picture of a door. Well, what does that say? Well, what does it say to you? What is it? It would say absolutely nothing. If I drew a picture of an ox's head, a picture of a house, a picture of a foot, and a picture of a door, would that mean anything to you? Would you know that meant A, B, C, D? No, you wouldn't. Now, what would you think? What if you seen? Well, you'd say, well, I see a picture of an ox head. And you know what? He must be communicating something to do with an ox's head. Obviously, he's not communicating monkey head, or he drew a monkey head. Obviously, this second letter is communicating something to do with a house, something to do with a foot, and something to do with a door. Now, you may not understand at all what these pictures are communicating, but you will know when he tells you what these pictures are actually communicating. You will be in 100% agreement. You will be able to say, I agree, that a picture of a door most certainly communicates the word door to me. If you draw a door, and there are many, many millions and billions of doors that you can draw. I don't care if you draw a garage door, an attic door, a cellar door, a modern door, an ancient door, a door with no door, if there's such a thing, I'll understand perfectly. It's a door. Never would I understand it's just a D sound. No, that's absolutely beyond special. I cannot help a person that cannot understand that a door most certainly represents a door, that a house most certainly represents a house. And if I showed you a picture of a house and you told me that it had absolutely nothing to do with a house, I would want to commit you and give you mental health help. Because if you looked at a picture of a house and told me that that has nothing to do with a house, buddy, I don't have words to tell you what you are. You are beyond simple. You are in need of help. If you've seen an ox's head and told me, well, that doesn't communicate an ox's head, that has nothing to do with an ox's head, we have problems. If you've seen a door, a picture of a door, and told me that has nothing to do with a door, we got some serious problems. We have to, at least at a minimum, say that a picture can represent 2 trains of thought. It can represent a train of thought that is what we would call the representation of sound. And just like when you pronounce the picture, so if you held up the picture, you would go door. In other words, D, duh, door, duh, duh sound. I'm perfectly okay with that. That's one train of thought. If you held up a picture of a bite, which is a house in Hebrew, if you held up a picture of a bite And the person said, "Oh, that is a bite." But B. It's letting me know it's a B sound. B as in bite. Okay. D as in door, or D as in doll. Fine. A as in olive. Fine. Makes perfect sense. But if I held up a picture of the same things, a door, and I said to you, "Oh, that's a door," it means a door. A door means a door. Isn't that like common sense 101, that door means door? That house means house, that ox means ox, that basket means basket, that arm means arm, hand, palm means palm, water means water. If we can't agree that water means water, I don't know if I can teach you anything else. But if you can agree with me that absolutely, I am willing to understand that there are two different paths. One path is that the aleph is an I sound, but the aleph also has another path. Another path where this aleph represents an ox, a head, a strong, powerful leader. If you can understand that this represents a crown of horns, of thorns, if you can see that in that picture, then I can help you. I can teach you. If you understand that when you look at a door, that it has something to do with entering in, it could also have something to do with blocking. A door could also block you, not allow you entry. There is a positive and a negative to the picture. It depends on how the door is used. But if you have a wall with no door in it, you can't just walk through a wall. So if I was trying to communicate to you and I had no clue what language you spoke, and I just drew a door, and I walked up and I put a picture of a door on your wall, or I drew a door on your wall, tell me, be honest with me, whoever you are, if we have a wall and I draw a door on your wall, is there anyone that's going to say, "Oh, he's communicating the letter D, the D sound"? Would anyone on the face of this planet do that? Would anyone say, "Oh, obviously he is communicating that D sound. He's representing the letter D by drawing a door"? No, we can't agree on that. That is a possibility. That is one possibility that we must examine. There is the possibility that I am communicating a letter D and a D sound. But to say that is the only possibility, that is not accurate. It's misleading. We have to examine, is he also possibly communicating something to do with a door? Well, obviously, if I draw a door on a wall, can you not see that I might be communicating? We might need a door right here. It'd be nice to have a door in this wall. Like if we, this is it, folks. This is how simple I'm going to make the Bible. I'm going to make it so simple that when I hold up this picture of a door, if all you can see is a D sign, then you are lost. But for those of you out there that can see, oh my goodness, obviously he is communicating something to do with a door. Maybe he is saying that we need to add a door. Maybe he's saying we need to take away the door. For example, if it's a wall and we need it to be a wall and only a wall, like to fortify against enemies, and you put a door in it, I'm going to communicate to you, you're ding dong, and you've took our fortified wall and you've put a big old hole in it for the enemy to walk through. So I'm going to draw a picture of a door, as in remove the door, get rid of the door. We don't need no door there. I'm going to go maybe in this case, we would draw a picture of a wall, and we'd put the picture of a wall over the door to communicate we don't want a door here, we want a wall here. So the pictures can be used in a positive or negative way, but surely everybody out there, if you can't agree, then there's no sense following me. There's no sense studying, because when I see a door, if I see a door, a picture of a door, the first thing that comes to mind is the word door. And if you see a picture of a door and the first word that comes to your mind is anything other than door, then we have a lot of work to do. And I don't know if I can help you. The first word that comes to mind when you see an ox's head should be an ox's head. The first word that comes to mind when you see a house, it should be a house. When you see a foot, it should be foot. When you see a door, it should be door. If we can't agree on that, then it's hopeless, folks. The world is lost, and 99.9% of this world is going to go straight to hell, because God is communicating things with these pictures. And when he holds up the picture of a door, I've got news for you. It means door. When he holds up a picture of an ox's head, it means an ox's head. When he holds up a picture of a chicken, it means chicken. Why would it mean something else than a chicken? If I wanted it to mean something else, I would draw something else. Does that make sense? If I wanted this ox head to represent something other than an ox head, I would choose something different. If I wanted it to represent a chicken, I'd draw a chicken. If I wanted it to represent a monkey, I'd draw monkeys. If I wanted it to represent a tree, I'd draw a tree. Now, I'm going to end this video here because that's something for you to chew on, okay? And chew on that. And I guess if you can follow along and you can agree, then I'm about to open your eyes to a whole new world. Because the world of the Bible that you currently know is there's two different paths, and one of them is just sound. And all you've ever heard is just the sound. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, and that's all you heard. But you missed everything else that's there. All those pictures, all those words, all the understanding, you missed it all. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to take you down this other path where you can see that indeed Dr. Michael Brown is an absolute liar. I forgive him. I hope he sees this. I hope he retracts his words. I hope he'll go down this journey with all of us. But Dr. Michael Brown, currently, you're like a wall where we need a door. You're an obstacle in the way. You're lying, you're deceiving people, you're telling them don't go down this path when that is the path they need to go down. And the path that you're having them to go down is a path that they don't gain knowledge, wisdom. They are lost. And I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to prove it to them. I'm going to prove it to the whole world. So that's the end of this first video. I hope you guys love it and enjoy it. And I will see you in the next video.